Good morning to the SMB and cloud-based communities. This is Karl Palachuk from Small Biz Thoughts, and I am joined today with Denoid Tucker from StrataScale. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Pretty darn good. So I am going to be talking to Denoid about the services that StrataScale offers, and in particular talking about cloud offerings and cloud security. One of the biggest concerns that everybody has with the cloud is how do we secure it? So StrataScale is actually located in Northern California and kind of my neighbors down the road here. And so hold on one second. Let me make Denoid the presenter. And then he's going to accept that. And then he's going to start up his slideshow for us. So StrataScale is based out of Northern California and provides a variety of cloud-based services and has a great partner program. Denoid is responsible for the strategic expansion of StrataScale's entire service portfolio, including cloud hosting, dedicated server hosting. He has more than 20 years experience in network systems and architecture and the deployment of large-scale IT environments. So with that, Denoid, do you have a little bit more of an introduction for yourself or for StrataScale?
Sure. Thanks, Karl. So today we're going to, again, as Karl mentioned, talk a little bit about securing the cloud and some of the things we've seen. First off, as Karl mentioned, I'm Denoid Tucker. I'm Vice President of Technology at StrataScale. We are a dedicated hosting and cloud infrastructure or infrastructure as a service company based out of Northern California, as Karl mentioned. We are a wholly owned subsidiary of RagingWire. RagingWire is a data center and managed services company and co-location company, also out of Northern California, been in business for about 11 years. We first launched our offering back in December 2008. That was a dedicated offering, so we offered physical servers, compute, storage, networking, security, hosting as a service back then. We didn't have cloud yet. Cloud was launched April of last year, so we've just coming up on a year of cloud, and we've seen a lot of success there, and also some lessons learned specifically about security. Because we're an infrastructure as a service company, we offer obviously the basic building blocks of any IT infrastructure. So we appeal to a large subset of clients, from startups to SMBs and large enterprises, including a healthy channel play with resellers and ISVs, and even other service providers offering other type of cloud products up the stack, either platform as a service or even software as a service. Some of the key differentiators of our product is wrapped around this automated portal that we offer. We have a software development team who's worked on, for the past, 3 years now, an entire automation platform that completely provisions the physical as well as the virtual infrastructure and provides that control to the customer via a secure web portal. So with that, allows a lot of flexibility in the product. Also, we took a big focus on security. Being a hosted play, there are a lot of concerns out in the marketplace about customers using outsourced infrastructure and housing their data, and we wanted to take a deeper look at security and make sure that our customers were not only safe, but they were also comfortable with outsourcing in general.
So when you bring partners on board, is security a huge question? Is it like the biggest question, or is it just something that end users are primarily worried about?
Well, I think it depends on the type of customer. The smaller SMBs, the younger organizations, the startups, they're more familiar and comfortable with outsourcing in general. So there's a sort of a higher level of trust from the hoster that they know what they're doing and that their data is safe. The larger enterprises, the more mature organizations who has a lot of experience with malicious attacks and denial of service issues and all types of security issues within their own organization, have a more heightened approach, have a more heightened awareness, excuse me, of security, especially when it comes to outsourcing. So the larger companies and even the resellers, they want to understand from us as their hoster that we employ the same type of security mechanisms to protect their data as they do internally. So it just depends on the customer.
Right. And that's an excellent point about the smaller SMBs are more comfortable with outsourcing because they've done it for lots and lots of different products. Because clearly, I don't own a data center. I don't own a spam filtering company. I don't own an antivirus company. So I'm used to outsourcing those things. That's
right.
So that's kind of an interesting point. So I know that you're probably going to get to this, but let me just ask about, the perception. Do you help partners with their perception to their end user clients? Because end users tend not to differentiate between different kinds of security, I mean, there was just a big thing in the media that Epsilon, who is a big email managing system, was hacked. So if you have an account with American Airlines or, Schwab, or there's like a dozen major companies where all their email addresses were stolen. So now we're on a heightened awareness for phishing attacks. End user clients don't see the difference between that and multi-tenant, server systems. It's not their job to know the difference. It's just all generic security. So do you have any way to help your partners address those kinds of things with their clients?
Yeah, absolutely we do. There's a lot of mechanisms that we put in place. So we sit down with our resellers, and we sit down even with our end customers, and we sort of go through some of the things I'm going to talk about today, but with a little bit more detail about some of the approaches we take and how this is sort of differentiating between other providers and some of the things that we do or are custom, and some of the things we've built in-house that just typically don't exist in the marketplace as something you can purchase because of the nuances around infrastructure hosting as a service. Because of that, there are it's a platform for malicious activity. So it's sort of the very nature of our business, because it's agile and powerful and scalable. It also there's another side of that sword. In other words, they're the same things that make cloud great also make it great for malicious activity as a base platform. So we sit down with those customers, and we sit down with the channel resellers, and we sort of explain that to them in terms that they can take to their end customers and present a good message that makes them feel comfortable with outsourcing with us.
Very good. Well, I'll let you get back to it. I do want to point out to everybody who's watching this that the photograph you're looking at on your screen is actually a photo. It's not a stock photo. It's taken from your data center. This is the entryway after you go through a couple of security doors.
That's right. We're looking at sort of the phase one. This is the phase one, which is 27,000 feet. StrataScale is actually off to the right of the picture where we're housing it. But yes, so it's part of, again, we're a wholly owned subsidiary of RagingWire, and RagingWire builds Class A facilities, and this is sort of a bird's eye view down into one of them.
Perfect.
So, again, I mentioned before, why is the cloud great? Why are you in the cloud? Why do you want to be in the cloud? It's flexible. Again, it's automated. You can have things quickly. You can scale out instantly. You don't have to worry about traditionally with CapEx expenditures, about ordering equipment and provisioning equipment and getting it set up. All of that is taken care of for you, and you can have it when you need it, which is very, very powerful, and allows you to scale up and scale down as your business needs. So it's quite agile, and obviously all those things together make it very powerful. We don't need to go into that. I think everyone understands how powerful the cloud can be. But the reason why I mention that is because it's a double-edged sword, as I kind of alluded to earlier, where because of all those things, it makes it very attractive for hackers to use as a platform for malicious activity. So there's a conference every year in Las Vegas called DEF CON, and it's basically the premier hacker conference where they talk about all kinds of security issues, versus, both on the good and the bad. And I found some interesting statistics that I wanted to share with the listeners, that there has been, over the past couple of years, really since cloud started becoming more and more in the forefront, and there's a lot of other hosters out there providing it, that there's been a lot more interest from the hacker community. There was a poll done on the attendees of DEF CON last year, where they asked if, did the cloud present more opportunities to hack? And overwhelmingly, 96% of those who were polled at DEF CON agreed that the cloud did present more opportunities to hack. One of the keynote presentations last year was titled "Cloud: A Weapon of Mass Destruction." I encourage listeners to go to the DEF CON site and read that, and they have that presentation online. It's very interesting, and it talks really about the fact that you have a congregated mass of compute and networking capabilities in one place, makes it a very powerful weapon to use, in the hacker community, to use against other servers, propagating malicious worms, things like that, all types of malicious activity.
Well, there's an interesting kind of historical case about this guy at Berkeley who wrote a little program to use all the spare cycles on all the different computers in the different computer labs at Berkeley, and was the first one to crack the 256-bit encryption. And you think about that on the massive scale of the cloud, it
Right.
really is unbelievable how much power there is available if somebody's willing to go use it.
Absolutely, and unfortunately the hackers don't really care about spare CPU cycles. They'll just take the cycles that you're using to run your business, which is a problem. And it's some of the things we've seen. And even in the past presentations, there's been a lot of talk about the cloud in years past. So it's something that if hackers are paying attention, it's something that we should be too. I mean, we should be looking at that. So some of the things we've noticed. So here's some of the lessons learned and some of the things we've noticed over the past couple of years as we've been looking at this. We took some security logs, about a month's worth of security logs on our network, and we profiled 2 North American cloud providers. We just sort of took a deep dive into them and looked at the kind of activity that was coming from their networks. So both providers had attacks originating from within their networks that were consistent with self-propagating worms, and this is just particular malicious code that goes out and tries to exploit other vulnerabilities in other servers. And then once it does that, it takes control of the server and it sort of sits and waits for commands and tries to propagate itself further. So that in and of itself is sort of an automated thing. There's not any, there's no human being sort of pulling the strings. It sort of sits and waits for commands. But what we did notice, one of these providers originated an attack that was consistent with more intelligent or user-directed activity. So it looked like this wasn't just a regular self-propagating worm. This had a human being behind it, sort of pulling the strings. And here's the thing: in both cases, the attacks continued for an average of over 3 days. Now, what that told us is that the cloud providers weren't detecting the attacks from within their own network, so they didn't even know it was happening. So that sort of raised an awareness in our side to say that there aren't these major providers out there aren't doing everything they can to look for attacks originating from their network. They're probably or assumingly looking for attacks coming from the outside world, not from internally.
Right. Now here's